I welcome you again to my office. I welcome you to another Word of the Week, our weekly wow. You have seen correctly if you are watching this as a video and not as written copy. The font size has in fact been lowered. I love words. I'm always casting about for new words, different words, memorable words, those that give us a challenge. I asked our grandson, our oldest grandson, who was visiting with us this past week, to share one of his favorite words, a word that he found intriguing, interesting, different. And he responded with this week's Word of the Week. I could decipher the general meaning of the word. I looked it up online. Looks like even Charlie Brown knew and used this word, but I have to admit it's not in my normal vocabulary. It's not in my words that I use daily or weekly or perhaps even annually. Kakorrhaphiophobia, not your average 18 letter English word, and therefore the slightly lessened font size. A phobia, a fear. Dictionary definition: an abnormal fear of failure. Literally, badly sewn or badly constructed. A fear that the fabric of life is so badly woven that it automatically works against us, that the tapestry of life, of culture around us, friendship, limits our possibilities. A fear that keeps us from acting because of our fear of failure or defeat. Perhaps in one sense, just the opposite of Paul's message to the Romans in chapter 8, verse 28, that God is at work in our world, working all things together for good to those who are the called according to his purpose. Well, applications. We don't just share words, we suggest applications. There are many, but one comes to my mind immediately. Kakorrhaphiophobia. That explains the hesitancy of many Christians to share their faith. Fear of failure. Others aren't interested. Others won't be interested. Others will reject me. I will fail. I'm not very good at it. I don't know how to do it. I will inevitably fail. Someone will ask me a question I don't know the answer to. So I'm not going to try. That's kakorrhaphiophobia. Fear is a great enemy of the proactive Christian life. I urge you, as you think about this week's word, whether you remember it or not, step into action. Mission work, evangelism, outreach, teaching, helping, serving, working for the Lord. Stretch yourself. Get out of your comfort zone. Go above and beyond. Do something that Jesus wants you to do, something that you hoped that you could do, but you've not yet done. Yield. I remember an illustration that was given concerning that word in Romans chapter 6, that we yield our bodies as instruments in his service. Follow Jesus, obey his commands, and do something for Jesus today or this week that you would rather not do. That's an evidence of the fact that we are yielded. And as I've already mentioned, you don't have to remember the word. It may be gone from your memory by the time I stop speaking today. May mean it's never really been ours, and I don't think I'll be using it a great deal in my coming sermons and classes and other common interactions and conversations. But my request, what I hope for myself, what I hope for you, remember the concept. When you begin to think that you cannot do it, that the fabric of this world is automatically opposed to anything and everything that is Christian, that kind of thinking is irrational, it's debilitating, it's abnormal. Look about us. Why do some succeed when we fail? Why can others do what we cannot do? What is the explanation? I know there are several possible answers, but here's an explanation you can add to your list. Kakorrhaphiophobia. So remember that God loves you. Above all, remember that I love you. That's the way it's going to be. Try to understand clearly that there's one thing that stands firm about the way that this world and our lives are woven together, and that is that God loves us. This week in your Christian life, as you seek to fulfill God's eternal plan and purpose for your life, do something that is perhaps daring, outside the norm, a bit uncomfortable. May fear of failure never paralyze us. May we be bold. May we be daring. May we go forth as did those first Christians that we read about in the book of Acts. And may we be those who fulfill God's will in taking the good news of Jesus into all our world. I pray that our lives will never be marked by an irrational and debilitating fear. I thank you so much for sharing time with me. Always a blessing to be with you. My prayer is that God will bless us as we seek to serve him.